if it goes into a room that's, say, smaller than 46 feet, then those last two pieces can either be cut out or stepped out about 6 feet and then moved up so that they come out at an angle from the second wedge. That second wedge is the key to everything. Everything centers around that. The front one can even be cut off, you know, so that different kinds of things can happen depending on the scale of the room and the size of the things. I've disorganized it to the point where there are maybe two coming this way and two going that way, and so that when you walk into the room, you're walking through things rather than seeing any particular line to it. You know, I'm sort of counting on, when it goes to England, having this rolling hill-like, and this piece sitting on this hill, or coming out of it, or something like that. You know, and I think it'll be very effective.
Is it sold yet?
This?
Yeah.
Oh no, I own it.
Come to meet the artist. I want you to meet my friend David Camardo.
Hi, David. Glad to meet you.
David is an artist that I really, really believe in.
Then goes to Kohler-Muller in Holland, 90% for sure. Then 2 stops in Germany and 2 other stops, and I can't remember where they are. It's a long...
You don't happen to know when it will be in Louisiana, do you?
It's the second stop. I think it's the fall.
If you're going to change your large sculpture here, are you going to change the model also?
No, the model came from the watercolor. See, this was a process that the model relates to the watercolor, not so much to the sculpture. I started with a watercolor, and then I made the watercolor three-dimensional, which is what you see in the painted model. And then that is adjusted to the big piece, which will not be painted. It's going to be sandblasted and just let to rust. Or it will be painted one solid color. No, it's not. It's mild steel.
On a Sunday afternoon in February of 1982, they cooked almost a dozen turkeys in an oven that's usually used to burn away wax while casting bronze. They poured several bottles of wine from behind a table normally cluttered with metal finishing tools. They tossed huge amounts of salad, warmed way too much French bread, all for anyone who was interested in the most recent work of 2 of the art department's own faculty members, for anyone that was willing to provide a few dollars of support, and anyone that longed for a chance to have a party during a lull in the middle of an awful winter.
I think it'd be great to do this once a year regardless. Have a big spring house cleaning.
Actually, the most significant reason that brought all of these people together was the chance to observe and react to the results of a project totally different from any previous accomplishment of the San Jose State University Art Department foundry. Both projects were started 2 months earlier in the damp and chilly beginning of the winter class break. Large metal sheets have been bought, marked, and cut to shape.
Well, what I did was take and make a scale maquette for it, and then blew this.
Oakland sculptor and faculty member at San Jose State University, Sam Richardson.
And the rest of it, after the drawings, was just a matter of cutting out the sheets of steel, which was probably the most tricky part, because you have one sheet of steel and you try to get as many angles cut out of it as possible. So when we had that done, that was probably the most difficult part of it. The idea started with a group of components that I've worked with before, and began to alter slightly as we began to interpret it in metal. And some of the alterations took place relative to its base stand and how it would stand up and how it would be welded. There wasn't any special development. I mean, there wasn't any special real concern, excepting the one concern that I had, and that was that it had to fit different environments. Most of my work fits an environment, whether it be a small environment that I create or a large environment that it goes into. So this was a real strange piece for me that's going to, you know, I don't know what I'm encouraging them to do is to send me plans of where it's going to go next, and then I can work out a plot for how it's going to fit that next stop. I'm really concerned about the sculpture garden in England because there's so many possibilities there, because it's open ground, and so I very well may go there and supervise this installation.
So this looks great. Looks okay to me. Looks pretty good.
In an adjacent space, shapes of another piece are starting to take form.
This is just as if that large cube had been sectioned from corner to corner.
I see, yeah.
And so now this piece, we don't have a piece
Yeah.
that big anymore.
I see.
So we're going to have to piece it together. We're going to have
Like
a strip on the edge made out of one of the other cut pieces.
The piece at San Jose came from the watercolors that I've been doing off and on over the last 2 or 3 years.
San Francisco sculptor and faculty member at San Jose State University, Fletcher Benton.
From the watercolors, and now I'm working very much within this idea of balancing forms on top of each other in such a manner that they appear maybe to be at any moment to fall apart or collapse. So when I get this model done, it goes downstairs, and I have fellows that work with me, and they're all artists, and they work here part-time. They will scale up directly from the models because I don't like to use drawings. They're just not right for three-dimensional forms, and we've found that many of us have dyslexia here, and it's better if we have something we can hold and actually take the measurements on. So these become a functional part of building the big pieces. The piece at San Jose that's going to Europe was built down there. Everything was cut and shipped there, and we did the welding there. It was a little bit difficult because some of the support equipment that we have here we didn't have there, but I think under the circumstances we got it done in record time, and there was a deadline there. I think we spent maybe 2 working weeks on it. Well, these people all bring to my work a sense of teamwork. I don't go down there and hover over people and say, do this, do that. Each person is given the opportunity to do what they have to do, and I pretty much leave them alone. They know the thing has to be done, and so I think there is, and I'm certain there is, an involvement beyond just a job situation. So they're all a part of the piece when it's finished, and that's what makes it special.
Okay, so we figured 3 inches. 3 inches out. Okay, 3 inches. So we're going to cut it 3 inches back here.
I suppose it can be traced back to over a year ago when Fletcher and I talked about the need for improving the way that we could get students interested or feeling able to handle some large-scale fabrication.
Department Chairman, San Jose State University Art Department, Fred Spratt.
And so Fletcher's classes have been working with models, and he said it would be wonderful if I could take them to my studio to just see us build a piece. They'd learn something. Well, it would be difficult to do that for lots of reasons, and so we played around with the idea of possibly doing a demonstration piece here. And when it got around to the planning, I think in the meantime, this opportunity for doing a piece to be in this California show, which is going to England, came up. And we thought, well, maybe we can do both things, that we can give a demonstration for students during the intersession, and at the same time, the piece is a real piece that's being used. And simultaneous with that, Sam was invited to be in this show and decided he wanted to do a large metal fabricated piece also, and approached me about the possibility of doing that during the break in the facilities with our technicians that he would retain to do the work, and some of his own people as well. So the two things came from somewhat different quadrants and came together nicely. And as much as we weren't in regular session, it gave us an ideal opportunity, and it seemed like the foundry and metal facility was just ready for that kind of thing. We've got some new personnel, and it just was one of those times when an opportunity came up, we were able to take it.
One of the exciting things about working with Fletcher's group here was that the project, right from the beginning through to the end, as a concept that Fletcher did, and in the way his people put it together technically, contrasted greatly with Sam's segmented wedge piece and how we put it together.
Sculptor and technician at the Art Department metal facility, John Barnett.
Our piece had to be one long shape that as a concept and as a finally executed welded design fit together precisely. Each individual line continuing, the edges lining up. In the case of Fletcher Benton's work, his design is a number of units. It's a composition out of a number of dissimilar parts. They're all geometric shapes, donuts, cubes, X's, pipe, long rods, and so on, but they're not a continuous string that invites the type of comparison that we get. And he was working with the fabrication, in other words, with a great number of different kinds of problems each time. We had the same problem right down the line, pardon the pun.
I think it's right there. You think it's still bowed out? Okay. Pull them out a little bit. There's a string in the back.
I was fortunate in getting John Barnett to weld and fabricate the piece for me. Guy has been just terrific to work with, and Greg Hill and the other people that have worked on it. A nice exchange, and felt very comfortable in it. They all knew what I wanted. John and I talked in my studio for a day or so about the aesthetics of the piece and what I wanted. And everybody just kind of got with that, and it's been real delightful.
Well, the piece at San Jose is one of the largest pieces I've built. Years ago, I was a kinetic artist and worked in smaller scale, certainly, and I always thought of the kinetic work as an extension of a static painting. I was dealing with color and motion. The difference is the amount of commitment to tools, storage space, and the sheer problems of moving large forms around. I think that is the difference. And in the process, I'm experiencing what I think is one of the main differences between a painter and a sculptor, and that is most sculptors, at least in our modern day and age, lose their privacy through the very nature of what they're doing. And most painters retain their privacy. I mean, they work alone, and their work grows, at least the fellows I've talked to, more through privacy than through, confusion, certainly. Whereas a sculptor is dealing constantly with workers, with truckers, with engineers, architects, groundskeepers, the political malarkey of the time, whatever it is. It just goes on and on. So what happens is your degree of privacy has been reduced to almost zero, and that is a difficult thing to deal with.
Okay, wait, don't pull it up too much. It's going to fall right down on top of it. I got it.
Having that large outdoor space is a tremendous asset in a big industrial kind of area. It's just set up for that. Over the years, we've managed to put together a fairly extraordinary facility. And we, except on a few occasions when John has done some large pieces and a few graduate students have worked, we haven't always felt that we were getting the real potential out of that. And it's wonderful to see some of this work, this work of this scale, and with this kind of collaboration, because large work is almost always a collaborative venture. So it's given us a chance to be involved in the collaborative process, and once again, it's a object lesson for our advanced students.
Don't worry about it.
I believe the most wonderful thing that can happen to me is that I have enough money flow that I never have to think about how much it costs to do it. And it's exciting, you know, just to say, look, no matter what, the sculpture comes first. You know, we cannot devise something or leave something simply because economically it's better to do it that way. We must go beyond that, because if you don't, then you cease to grow. Even if it hurts you really hard, you must go ahead and change it. So we've discussed this, and I've told the guys, you know, you're just going to have to bear with me, you know. And I said, where the problem is rough is that I'm not doing it. If I were down there humping it, welding, and grinding, I would think twice about changing it, wouldn't I? But if there is a benefit in having workers and the respect of their abilities to help you, it is in this area. That they know that they got to hump it and change it, but they're going to do it because I said, look, fellas, it's not right, we got to change it.
Would it be all right to take the top 2 boxes off and leave those off, and hell, we can take the whole thing apart. Might as well take everything apart except for the T. We can leave the T and the triangle on for today, and we'll just go with that. Okay. Then we can go ahead and weld up our
Cap that off, clean up that stuff,
weld that up.
cap the pipe, and we've got to decide where we're going to cut that pipe.
Yeah, I would rather cut it on that end over there, but I don't hope that doesn't interrupt your look at the straight
Well,
pipe.
maybe we should check with the shipper first, because we're going in a 40-foot container, then we don't have to cut it.
It's F-20s.
No 40s?
No 40s.
There hasn't really been an unfun part. It's all been fun and exciting, and most of my projects don't have are always involved with other people, so that I enjoy that part of it, and I think that the party that we had there was really a climax, you know, when the pieces were presented and everybody came and had turkey, you know. That was a whole bunch of fun. I guess it was most exciting when we got the piece done and we set it up and took a look at it all together. That was kind of fun.
Probably about 4 inches apart. That's about as far as we could ever have it, and I'd like to see how that looks. What is
Try to
that?
come back another 4 inches.
What does that do if that were to be shoved right in there? What would that do?
This makes it 48.
At least 2 inches?
I think that my not having worked with steel before, and mainly plastic, paper, wood, things, concrete, things of that sort, going out to the foundry and having a piece fabricated and feeling comfortable about it has given more students, especially graduate students, the idea that they don't have to master each media. They need a collaboration maybe, but they don't have to master it, and that opens up ideas, you know, to such a great extent. And I think that, to me, that's key.